John chapter 11, highlights and reflections. I pause now to slow my breathing down, relax my body, bring my attention to you, Jesus, your spirit inside of me. I also take this moment to pause and acknowledge any distractions and trust them to you, Jesus. And starting in verse 3, it says, "So the sisters sent word to him, saying, 'Lord, behold, he whom you love is sick.' But when Jesus heard this, he said, 'The sickness was not meant for death, but is for the glory of God, so that the Son of God may be glorified by it.' Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that he was sick, he then stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was. Then after this, he said to his disciples, 'Let's go to Judea again.' The disciples said to him, 'Rabbi, the Jews were just now seeking to stone you, and yet you're going there again?' And Jesus replied, 'Are there not 12 hours in the day? If anyone walks during the day, he does not stumble because he sees the light of this world. But if anyone walks during the night, he stumbles because the light is not in him.' Then he said to them after this, 'Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I'm going so that I may awaken him from sleep.' The disciples then said to him, 'Lord, if he has fallen asleep, he will come out of it.' Now Jesus had spoken of his death, but they thought he was speaking about actual sleep. So Jesus said to them plainly, 'Lazarus died. And I'm glad for your sakes that I was not there, so that you may believe. But let's go to him.' Therefore Thomas, who was called Didymus, said to his fellow disciples, 'Let's also go, so that we may die with him.' And then we move on down to verse 20. It says, 'So then Martha, when she heard that Jesus was coming, went to meet him, but Mary stayed in the house.' Martha then said to Jesus, 'Lord, if you'd been here, my brother would have died. Even now I know that whatever you ask of God, God will give you.' Jesus said to her, 'Your brother will rise from the dead.' Martha said to him, 'I know that he will rise in the resurrection on the last day.' Jesus said to her, 'I am the resurrection and the life, and the one who believes in me will live, even if he dies. And everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this?' She said to him, 'Yes, Lord. I have come to believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, and he who comes into the world.' When she'd said this, she left and called her sister Mary secretly, saying secretly, 'The teacher's here and is calling for you.' And when she heard this, she got up quickly and came to him. Jesus, grow my faith from what you can do for me to what you are for me, my King, whose power cannot be thwarted." And now we're going to switch to the New Living Translation version, and we're going to start in 32. "When Mary arrived and saw Jesus, she fell at his feet and said, 'Lord, if only you'd been here, my brother would not have died.' When Jesus saw her weeping and the other people wailing with her, a deep anger welled up within him, and he was deeply troubled. 'Where have you put him?' he asked. Then they said to him, 'Lord, come and see.' And Jesus wept. The people who were standing nearby said, 'See how much he loved him?' But some said, 'This man could heal a blind man. Couldn't he have kept Lazarus from dying?' Jesus was still angry as he arrived at the tomb, a cave with a stone rolled across its entrance. "Roll the stone aside," Jesus told them. But Martha, the dead man's sister, protested, "Lord, he's been dead for 4 days. The smell will be terrible." Jesus responded, "Didn't I tell you that you would see God's glory if you believe?" So they rolled the stone aside. Then Jesus looked up to heaven and said, "Father, thank you for hearing me. You always hear me, but I said it out loud for the sake of all these people standing here, so that they will believe you sent me." Then Jesus shouted, "Lazarus, come out!" And the dead man came out, his hands and feet bound in grave clothes, his face wrapped in a headcloth. Jesus told them, "Unwrap him and let him go." Many of the people who were with Mary believed in Jesus when they saw this happen, but some went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. "Jesus, I must believe to see your glory. I must believe." Pause now as you pray and journal and think through this question. What would belief look like for me today? Rejoin when you're ready. Jesus, I believe that belief for me today would look like you showing me what I need to see, knowing that you will show me what I need to see in each moment, in my reactions, in my reflections on my family. I believe that belief today for me would look like knowing you will help me be aware of my thoughts. I believe that belief today for me would look like knowing you will help me be thankful and present and be changed by your love inside, storing it up, spilling it out. You will vanquish my attachments. Removing the stone was an act of belief. Lord Jesus, remove the stone of my hidden attachments. Unbind me, Lord. Let me go. I will celebrate the coming out of what has been dead and the unbinding of it. I praise you, Jesus. Therefore, the chief priests and Pharisees convened a council meeting, and they were saying, "What are we doing in regard to the fact that this man is performing many signs? If we let him go on like this, all the people will believe in him, and the Romans will come and take over our place and nation." But one of them, Caiaphas, who was the high priest that year, said to them, "You know nothing at all, nor are you taking into account that it is in your best interest that one man die for the people, and that the whole nation not perish instead." Now he did not say this on his own, but as he was high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus was going to die for the nation, and not for the nation only, but in order that he might also gather together into one the children of God who are scattered abroad. So from that day on, they planned together to kill him. Therefore, Jesus no longer continued to walk publicly among the Jews, but went away from there to the region near the wilderness in a city called Ephraim, and there he stayed with the disciples. Now the Passover of the Jews was near, and many went up to Jerusalem from the country prior to the Passover in order to purify themselves. So they were looking for Jesus and saying to one another as they stood in the temple area, "What do you think? That he will not come to the feast at all?" Now the chief priests and the Pharisees had given order that if anyone knew where he was to report it so that they might arrest him. You worked through your enemies to prophesy. You conquered death, not only despite humanity's resistance, but through it. You are sovereign. If you work through your enemies, how much more can you work through your allies? Please change me and work in me. Make my mind a place that is safe for others and full of love. I can trust you to accomplish your work. I can believe in you. I trust you, Jesus. I praise you.